On to this video on who I think is going to be UFC champion in 2025. Who do I think at the end of 2025, throughout that whole year, who at the end of it will be champion? I'm also going to look at, obviously, who do I think is going to be a top contender as well, because I think that's important. If they don't get that fight, a champion can be out. Who do I think is going to be a top contender? Who do I think is going to get up there towards that top end of that division by the end of next year again? So I'll do the champion and the top contender for each division, starting off with women's strawweight. Sorry, not bantamweight, strawweight. Look, currently Zhang is champion. Upcoming fight in February. I think she'll probably win that. Very good on the ground. Stand up is good as well. I think all round Zhang Weili is very, very top tier. I think Zhang gets it done in February. I think she then at least fights one more time in the year. And I think, to be honest, I don't see who comes out of the woodwork to really push Zhang. Her fights against Rose Namajunas, but who is that fighter now in that division? I don't really see someone who is that. I think Zhang at least fights twice this coming year, but I think she still is champion no matter them two fights. So I think Suarez is the first top contender though at the end of the year as well. I think Suarez does reasonably well against Zhang, but at the end of the day, Zhang beats her. She then has at least another fight, beats them, sort of puts her in the position to go for a championship fight again against Zhang Weili. But that does really depend on how that first fight goes, because, to be honest, if she gets absolutely outclassed, she might be top contender at the end of the year, but will she get that fight next? Maybe not. On to the next division, which is women's flyweight. I think the good fighters in this division, I think you got Shevchenko doing very well. Obviously, currently the champion Blanchfield is only 25 and is in the top 10, which is very good for her. Fialrot, obviously, is big for the weight class and great stand-up fighter. I think Fialrot gets a title shot next against Shevchenko. I think that happens. I don't know if it's confirmed at this current point, but I think that's what happens, to be honest. I think Shevchenko has to go to the ground, as she did with Grasso. I think that's the important thing, is that Shevchenko takes her to the ground. I think Shevchenko keeps the title. That's a very big if, though. Fialrot is very good. We could see a change in the guard there, where Fialrot gets the title, but I think Shevchenko plays it well. She's playing sensible. With the last fight against Grasso, she did the game plan, and I think that's important against Fialrot. I don't think you want to stand up with her at all. I think she keeps out and maybe a retirement. I think Shevchenko could retire if she beats Fialrot or her next keeps it title. I think then, this is the important thing what I said about first contenders, is that, look, if she does retire, I think she keeps the title if she doesn't retire. If she does retire, I think Fialrot gets it. But I put Fialrot as the top contender. I think Grasso versus Fialrot will probably happen, maybe this year, depending on injuries, obviously. But I do think Fialrot beats Grasso. I think they're both stand-up fighters. I think Fialrot gets it done. I think Blanchfield has a lot of potential, but it's too early to say. This year, she may have she may be in top 10, she may have 3 fights, but still, is she really getting a title shot or top contender? Yes, she could be maybe top 3 at the end of the year. That's where I put maybe I think can easily get to the top 5 if she wins all her fights. That's the key for Blanchfield, but she won't hit that championship level this coming year in 2025. On to the next division, last women's division, which is bantamweight. And I'm pretty set on this. One. I think the one person who gets it done is Kayla Harris. I think Kayla Harris is coming into this division, is got the strength, has a ground game which is quite incredible in a in a division that used to have a very dominant champion in Amanda Nunes. Unless Nunes comes back, and by the way, all my predictions are saying, look, for this division alone, Amanda Nunes is not coming back. Because if she does, she's at least a champion or top contender. That's key. But look, Kayla Harris is so good. Pennington and Pena are up there. Obviously, they're the two really up there at the minute. I think Kayla Harris beats them both. I don't think there's she wins. They might be slightly tougher fights than she's had recently, but I still think she gets it done quite in a good fashion over 5 rounds as well. I think that helps Harris. I don't see over 5 rounds how she doesn't get you down to the ground, and if she does, I think she just wins most fights, or at least wins a good amount of rounds. Does great damage. So I think it's then, look, Kayla Harris is champion. I don't think anyone's got anything to really trouble her too much in that division currently. And I do think Pennington actually beats Pena. I think Pennington beats Pena. Obviously, they fought before, but I think if they do fight, Pennington gets it done and becomes the top contender at the end of the year. I do think, look, Kayla Harris may have 2 or 3 fights. I think Pennington Pena may only have 2 in this next year. I think that's the key. I think Pena especially will only have 2. And look, we've got to see how that works, because the lack of fighting, if one of them gets injured, suddenly you may be top contender, but it's between them two, Pennington and Pena. I give, if they both have a fight, if they both fight each other, Pennington gets it done and gets the top contender. On to the men's divisions. So men's flyweight, I don't see anyone currently beating Pantoja. I think there's rumours going around they're offering Mighty Mouse a lot of money to come back. Do I think that's going to actually happen? I don't think so. I think that's just a bit of a look. If he did come back, I'd be a bit concerned for him being out the game. Okay, yeah, he's a great fighter, but being out the game, why ruin your legacy and sort of thing of coming back, unless it's for an extraordinary amount of money? I understand that a bit more. It depends how much he's made, but is it worth him ruining his reputation against a fighter who's currently active, currently champion, doing great, hasn't seen a problem for a long time in fights? I think you're just going into a world where it doesn't favour you at all against Pantoja currently. I think he's so good on the stand-up and amazing on the ground game. Is just so incredible. I think it just beats everyone. And the fact that he's so good, his stand-up is so good as well. He can mix it up whichever way. If you're good on the feet, he'll drop you to the ground. If you're good on the ground, he'll get you on the feet. And he can sort of mix it up very well. And he just sort of looks at it and goes, well, what am I best at? What can I beat you on? I'm going to use that. And it's sort of quite an incredible fighter. He's running out of fighters to fight in that division, to be honest with you. This is difficult to say a first contender, to be honest, because Pantoja's going to beat them all. That's a key thing, I think. Look, you've got Royval, who's up there. You've got Moreno, who's up there. I think Moreno beats Royval. I think that's going to happen if they do fight in 2025. And I think if they do fight, I think Moreno does it. I do like his style. I do favour him. But look, it's going to be one of them two as top contender. I don't see anyone else coming up to really take out some of the guys that have been at the top of that division and fighting Pantoja for the last couple of years, you'd say, to really start put a new name in that top end of that division. I don't see it happening. So yeah, I think Pantoja champion, first contender is Moreno. On to men's bantamweight now. I think Umar Nurmagomedov gets it done early in the new year. I think Jan is going to do well in the division as well. His confidence is back. He's shown he's a good fighter. Sean O'Malley is so good though, but we don't know where he is after that defeat. He didn't look right, and whether that was an injury or whether it was something else, he's not going to come in confident as he has been as champion. And I think Umar gets a championship at the end and stays there. I think he gets it done. I think Jan is a great top contender as well. I think he's well rounded, and I think Umar beats both O'Malley and Dvalishvili. I do have a suspicion, though. My suspicion is that, look, Umar's coming in, he's a great fighter, he beats these guys. He may lose later on, maybe even 2026, but I think O'Malley needs 1 or 2 fights before he faces an Umar, and Umar might have to rematch or whatever, and that takes it further on. So I do think O'Malley is top contender. I think he comes back. I think he does beat Dvalishvili. I think there was sort of an injury there, and I think actually one fight for O'Malley with him gives him a bit of an idea. I think O'Malley's reach is incredible. I think he pops out that jab well. But Umar is a very big test for everyone in that division. I think he's so good. I think it's difficult for anyone to go, well, I'm going to beat him. If O'Malley faces Umar, I think that's a bit of a tough one where we go, well, actually, a non-confident O'Malley, is he actually going to do something? I think that's the tough one there. So I think, look, Umar gets it done, becomes champion, and I think O'Malley's probably top contender, but that's very hard to say in that division with so many working parts at top end, so many people who could actually fight for the championship next. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in the men's bantamweight division. On to men's flyweight, obviously a great... I do think Lopez will do very well this year. I think he's starting getting into that top end of that division. I think he does well. I think if he fights Evloev again, I think it's at some point this year, I think he probably will. I think he gets it done. I think he has the tools now, the experience now to get that done. Great on the feet, great reach. And I think ever improving his stand-up, his ground game's obviously incredible. I think Topuria versus Lopez or Evloev, both hard fights, but I think he gets it done. I think Topuria stays top. But I think Lopez and Evloev, I think they may fight after Topuria stays champion against one of them. And I think Lopez wins it as a top contender. Sort of have to get a few fights in that year. I think Lopez and Evloev, I think there has to be at least 2 or 3 to start looking at the picture I've got, which I think will happen. I think they'll stay active, especially Lopez will stay active. Evloev, okay, after that championship fight, we've got to see if he does get a shot. I think Topuria beats both though and stays champion at the end of 2025. On to men's lightweight now. Izan keeps the title. Early in the year, he's got a fight. I think he keeps it in that fight. I think he keeps it throughout the year. I don't see how someone beats Islam Makhachev currently. I think it's so tough. There has to be someone very new and exciting to really actually get me feeling that he's ever going to lose at current. I think Oliveira's still up there. He's still there. I think he loses against Makhachev, but again, he's still up there. Very good fighter. I think Gaethje Poirier are going to slip down slightly in this year. I think Sarukian's going to be right up there with Oliveira as well. Both amazing fighters. I think Oliveira and Sarukian. But yeah, I think there's going to be a slight change in the guard at that top of that division with Gaethje and Poirier probably slipping down slightly this year. I don't see how they keep going at that top level, having championship fights constantly, having 5-rounders, tough fights where they're getting hit. There has to be a drop off at some point. I think Makhachev I think Poirier might even have 1 fight left and he might retire this year. Gaethje may be even the same. I don't think there's many more fights in them. To be honest, they've earned their money, get retired, and have the time. It's keep fighting for how much is enough is the key for them. Makhachev stays champ. Sarukian I've got as top contender. Quite easily could be Oliveira though. I think Oliveira is very good, but I think Sarukian's great too. I think Sarukian probably keeps it this year at least into end of 2025. I think big changes coming to the welterweight division in this coming year, 2025, and I think Rachmanov, incredible fighter. I think he fights. Obviously, was meant to fight Bilal. Fought Ian Gary, beat him. Was a good fight there. I think he fights Bilal this year. I think that's the next fight for him. And I think he beats Bilal. I think that's key. Rachmanov is so good, he's so strong. And against Ian Gary, I think, okay, yeah, people are sort of saying that wasn't as impressive a fight. I think it's tough when you go against someone who you've sparred with and go in the gym with. And you saw that early on. They were trying to feel each other out, going, wait, we know what each other's trying to do. And he still got the win. And that's the key. I do also think Ian Gary's at a better level than people thought. He was. I think he's near top. I do think Ian Gary beats Leon Edwards. Currently, I think Leon Edwards is... The confidence just isn't there. I think there's been a problem throughout his career. I think the bigging up of himself to try and go, look, come on, you've got to be motivated to try and, you may be 4 rounds down, you've got to win it now. And I think that's a tough one for Edwards coming off losses as well. I think that just compounds the problem. Ian Gary obviously very good as well. I think it'll be... And then I think, look, does Ian Gary fight Bilal as his second fight of the year? I think he probably could do. And who do I think wins that? I think it's a very tough fight, that one. But you know what? I give it to Ian Gary. I think Ian Gary's got the reach. I think he's a very good fighter. Yes, and a very tough fight. Very tough fight. It's going to be very, very close in that fight. But I do think Ian Gary could do it. I think there's no reason why he couldn't. Bilal is good, but he's small, and unless he gets you down on the ground, that's the key point. He has to get you down. Ian Gary's shown he's pretty good at takedown defense, and I think, look, Ian, that's your key currently. After that 5-rounder with Rachmanov, you're probably going to have one more fight that you need to win, and it's onto a Bilal title contender fight. Unless Bilal gets a rematch, that could be the problem. But I think Ian Gary's right up there, top contender at the end of the year with Rachmanov as the champion. I see Rachmanov staying there for a good while at this rate. On to the next division, middleweight, going in. I think it's going to be hard for for people not to say Chimaev's going to be the title holder at the end of the year. I think you got quite a few big names at the top of that division. Though you got Duplessis, you've got Sean Strickland, you've got Izzy, you've now got Chimaev coming up. I think Chimaev's just his wrestling is just too strong. It's a real big problem where, look, it is Duplessis the greatest on the feet, where it actually causes enough of a problem where Chimaev can't get you down to the ground. I don't think so. Is Sean Strickland good enough to stop the takedown defense with his stance and actually to not be a counter puncher? Sort of Izzy has the same sort of problem where, can these guys over 5 rounds actually keep Chimaev off them? I don't think so. I think over 5 rounds they get him down to the ground at some point, and I don't think he's compromised early enough to go, that's actually going to be a deciding factor in the fight, to go, he hasn't got his wits about him because he's been hit. I think if Chimaev stays healthy, that's the key. He gets the wins. He's had problems with weight, he's had problems with health issues previously, but I think his wrestling is too strong, his strength's too strong. I think he becomes champion. The real big question, who's going to be top contender at the end of this year? Duplessis beat Adesanya. Adesanya was coming back into the fight at that point. Duplessis beat Sean Strickland but went 5 rounds, and both had success. I think Duplessis keeps the top contender. I think he does beat Izzy or Strickland in this year. I think that's the key. But look, it's one of the 3 of them. I think you can really switch it up and say whoever can win will win. I think Sean and Duplessis are the most likely to win out of them 3 fighters. I think Izzy will struggle this year a bit. I think it's tough. I think Duplessis wants to get into the ground, knows how to get into the ground, knows how to win on the ground. Chimaev's going to win on the ground, so it's very tough. Against a Sean Strickland, it's a bit of a difficult task to win. He's already lost, so I think, look, Duplessis gets the top contender at the end of this year, but Chimaev really shows he's the top guy in the middleweight division at the end of this year. Light heavyweight, well, this could be a really quick one where I go Pereira is champion. I think I don't think anyone's up there enough to be like, okay, well, he hasn't beaten them already, or they're going to survive over 5 rounds against a guy like that. I don't see it. I don't think that they're not guys on the ground, sort of like a Chimaev, where look, they just absolutely destroy people on the ground. No one in that division really is enough where they actually can avoid the shots from a Pereira as well while doing it. They're not a Makachev, they're not a Chimaev, so it's really tough. I think you don't see anyone beat Pereira in 2025. I don't think you see anyone come close to it, to be honest with you. But I do think it's going to be a mix-up between the guys below that. I think Hill versus Prohaska. I think Hill wins that. I do think Roundtree showed a lot of good work against Pereira, but again, I don't think he's at that level. I think it's going to be tough there for him to get back up. But then you've also got people like Ankalaev, he's incredible. And do I think an Ankalaev beats a Hill? I do think he does. And so I think, look, if Hill has 2 fights over this year, okay, yes, he may still be top contender, but I do think Ankalaev may come in, beat a Prohaska, or even go straight for a Pereira fight and actually do quite significantly well in that fight, where we go, well, he's the closest to Pereira in this division. Pereira still beat him well, but he's still the closest in this division. I think he's really the top contender at the end of the year. He may even face a Hill and beat a Hill. I think he beats Prohaska, he beats a Hill as well. I think he is that top contender in that division now. I think he does the best against a Pereira. And I think that's the key. The top contender should be the guy who will do the best against a Pereira in that division, because really all of them are gonna not do that well. They're not gonna get the win. So I think who can really mix it up the best for a Pereira fight, I think it's Ankalaev. On to the last division, men's heavyweight. I think Tom Aspinall gets the title. Whichever way that goes, I think he either faces Jones and wins, or Jones retires and basically gets the title, which he should have now. He's got a title now, really. He's not the undisputed title holder, but I do think he gets it done. I think Jones retires, and this is the key. I think Jones retires if he loses or if he wins. It doesn't really matter. I think he probably does have another fight. The Aspinall fight, he doesn't seem to want. That's the key. He doesn't seem to want it, but if the UFC is offering him a stupid amount of money, he'll take it, I think, which I think they're currently in negotiations for now. It sounds like Dana White wants to make that fight now. But I do think Volkov is totally up there, totally near the top of that division. I think he's done very well. I think he's coming up. He lost in the Garn fight, but I don't think that's a loss. I think Volkov won that fight, so like pretty much everyone else did. So I think Volkov's really that top contender, other than Jones. I think it goes currently, if I had to rank the fighters in that division, it's Tom Aspinall, John Jones, and then it's probably Volkov, and then probably a Garn. But again, that's the key. I think Jones is a top contender if he doesn't retire, but if he does retire, Volkov is the top contender at the end of the year, and Tom Aspinall finally gets the undisputed title no matter what in 2025. I think that's the key point, that we need to see that title be cemented, where either John Jones wins the Tom Aspinall fight and goes, well, I'm the best in the heavyweight division, or he vacates and Tom Aspinall gets the fight, or he gets, Tom Aspinall wins the John Jones fight. So I think we need it's been a bit of a mess, that division currently, for a while, not through Tom Aspinall's fault at all. So I think we just need a definitive answer, because it just gets to the point where we're just not in knowing of where people are at, what John Jones is thinking about his future. He's on about retirement, he's on about X, Y, Z. Well, come on, we just need an answer. I think we've had such a loss in this division since Ngannou and Jones didn't happen, all the way back when it was meant to be going on and John Jones was bulking up, Tom Aspinall comes through great, and then John Jones comes back in and tries to fight Miocic, and it's just a bit of a we're sort of like branching off into different parts of this division, going, well, they get a title shot because of legacy, they get a title shot, and it's just a bit like, well, no, come on guys, they haven't fought for a long time, they need to be, the point is it's about staying active. We want to see active fighters, and we can't just have John Jones holding up the division now. He needs to be fighting again ASAP if he is, and if he isn't, he vacates the title when he retires. But that is the key division there. I think Tom Aspinall gets it done, and well deserved. I think he totally deserves the title. I think he's been a great fighter and the best fighter in that heavyweight division for a while now. Please let me know what you thought of my predictions down below. We'll obviously revisit this at the end of this year. But yeah, I think, look, it's going to be a great year of UFC. I think it's some big fights, and again, Dana White wants to push on, and the UFC want to push on and make bigger and better fights. And I think, look, that's the key. It starts off with UFC. The first numbered event is 311, UFC 311, which is a stacked card as well. So look, we're just hoping we get some great fights, and I think we'll get some great fights also in boxing this year as well. So please let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.